VonAllen Sports.
This is Patriots linebacker, Super Bowl 49 champ, Darius Fleming, and you're watching VonAllen Sports. Real and honest NFL analysis. Subscribe now. Join the empire. VonAllen Sports, let's go!
How we doing, guys? Okay. Yeah, I thought I'd started off a little differently tonight because normally I have to wait for the thing to go through the system. And I thought, why not just start it and get it going like that first. So, how you guys doing? I know I normally don't start during Sunday night games, but does anyone really give a crap about the Lizard people and the Cowboys game? First of all, Cowboys have already clinched the division, so it's not like there were implications on that. And what's funny is they clinched it in a weird way by virtue of the Raiders winning, which is strange, an AFC team based off of a very obscure, down the line list of things that is required, and it's a cross-conference situation. But anyway, not that interesting. I don't think the Lizard people are going to do much anymore anyway. And I don't know who the idiot was that scheduled that for Sunday Night Football, but okay, whatever. That tends to happen quite a bit lately with a lot of weird matchups. But either way, I got bored watching it, so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go online while people are still awake. All right. Hello, Ray Davis. What's up? Jalen, what's up? Nefertiti. Jake Saunders, Tiffany, Elephant for Courage. Some random Patriots fan, also known as Pickle Dick. Dave, what's up, man? Russell, what's up? He says, my brother does. He's a Cowpoke fan. Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure it's interesting for him, but at least he doesn't have to worry about his team winning the division. Now, the Cowboys are the team this year that I thought they would be last year. What you see this year is what I was counting on last year, and that was without a lot of the current draft picks and things that they've got. So, that's what happens when you don't have your quarterback, right? And you lose your quarterback. So, Ray Davis says, hi, guess who won't be back next year? Come on, give you a hint. It's an ex-Patriots quarterback, but not Brady. One hint, he plays musical quarterback to the team he's on. Cam Newton. Yeah, it's not getting worked. I know the red zone is there is a situation, Dave, with the Bucs is frustrating to say the least. I don't know what Gronk is his deal is, but he seems to be dropping a lot of perfect passes, and it really, really sucks. And yes, he is hurting Tom's MVP chances. Not just him, but the whole team was dropping passes. Even for weeks, they've been doing this, and even before the injuries. So. Let's see. Yeah, Jalen, but we still have to, the Bucs still have to win a bunch of, their last two games and all that. It's still kind of just whatever. Not as much worried about the number 2 seed as I am the number 1 seed. To get that bye, especially with all the injuries the Bucs have. As far as going on the road or playing at home, honestly, I don't see much of a difference. I think they either play like crap or they don't, and it seems like they're a bit comfortable. So. Dave Wilhauer sends a $5 super chat. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Let me get that up there. Da, 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 da. All right. Tiffany says, I want to see Russell Wilson with the Raiders next year. Huh. Yeah, Elliot, look at that. I mean, yeah, the Bills. Um, I didn't expect the Patriots to fall apart. Well, not fall apart. That's too strong of a term. But I just have to say I expected more, Um, and now the Bills are in the lead because of strength of schedule. But it ain't over yet. Regarding that, the situation with, the Bills and the Patriots, we were never going to get the number 1 seed. All right, obviously. I mean, it just wasn't going to happen, and we know that. When the season started out, we were not even thinking playoffs. Like, it just seemed like it was a disaster, remember? And then they started going on a win streak, and they were like, oh, cool, we might make the playoffs and all this stuff, right? And then it became a foregone conclusion that we're, going to make the playoffs at some point. So if there's a team that can win on the road or that won't be a hindrance, I think it could be this Patriots team. And the reason I'm saying that is because home and away, I don't see a correlation for the Patriots. I don't see home being, the big, bad, evil Gillette Stadium that it used to be. Like, people don't go into Gillette Stadium and really seem to have any kind of, that aura is not there that used to be there. So I just don't know if it's an advantage or if it's a disadvantage. I'm just not sure. And if anybody has to go on the road in the AFC, you would at least want it to be a Belichick team, because at least that he would have these guys prepared. And I want to point out, like, for example, when the Bucs went out west to play the Rams in week 3 of this year, they had no preparation. You could tell that Bruce Arians never got them in any kind of rhythm or set protocol to get them ready for the trip all the way out west, and then the time change plan. And it's just it's like they phoned it in already before they even got there. As where when Bill travels, we know that the team is prepared and he makes sure that everything is done correctly and that they train and that they practice for those differences in every way, even down to the smallest detail of moving the equipment and when you're going to get to practice and, how you're going to have to do things. Maybe you have to do things in a hotel room the night before. It just depends, but he seems to be really good at that. So I'm not that worried, actually. Of course, I want to win the division because that does give you a home game, and that keeps the players in their element. But I'm not going to freak out, is what my point is. I'm not going to freak out if we don't have a bunch of home games. I'm grateful right now. I'm grateful that we have a rookie quarterback. We have not whole new, but we have a lot of new guys, and it's just been, a weird situation going from Tom, and I'm good. I just want to get into the playoffs and see what happens. Let's just see what happens, and just remember, whatever happens, just getting in the playoffs, just being in the playoffs gives Mac playoff experience. It gives a lot of these new guys playoff experience that may not have had it, and you can't put a price on that. We're not winning the Super Bowl, guys. Okay, so that's it. We're just not ready yet. It's just not there. It's just not enough. This is, you have to keep in mind, in 2001, when we did that, people keep comparing this year, 2001, as if we're going to go on some kind of crazy run. It's not the same. That 2001 team, a lot of the players, a lot of the situation there were built up, and really what you needed was that one quarterback to come in and do the right thing and always make the right decisions and stuff. And I'm sorry, but Mac, I like Mac. He's doing good and stuff, but we can't expect him to be Tom Brady and Tom Brady's mindset and that mentality. And not only that, the players are not as good on this team as they were in 2001. And people can say whatever they want, but go back and look at that 2001 roster. And I do need to point out something. That leads me to this. I was processing the VAS formula for this year's quarterbacks, and Mac Jones has a very favorable schedule. And if he has a very favorable, I'm sorry, I don't want to use the word schedule. What I mean is strength of opposition. Like Miscellaneous says, death to the opposition. He has a very favorable death to the opposition schedule, meaning that when he plays a team, they have a weaker win percentage than a lot of the other quarterbacks, and they give up a lot of points per game more than a lot of other teams. Now remember, our formula does not count the whole season, all right? Because I don't care how a team was doing in week 1 or week 4 as it pertains to now, all right? No team is the same, 10 weeks ago. They're just not. Everything's different. They're either on a hot streak or a cold streak. They're either have injuries or they get guys back, or they're playing better because they're gelling as a team. Nobody is the same. So it goes on a 4-week rolling formula. And on this 4-week rolling formula, the Patriots have a very favorable situation on their hands. So how much of that is, and the point here is that people are talking about how great the defense is, and it's awesome, okay? But it smacks of the 2019 season quite a bit. You guys, I think a lot of you guys will know what I'm talking about. And then when we find, and we're run into a situation with a team that is elite, like massively elite, it could be a problem. So this is not 2001. It's just not. And not only was it different 2001 as far as those things I mentioned, but it's also not 2001 in the sense that you have to have some luck. You have to have, just everything has to happen at the right time. If you guys remember, several things happened that year. So, first of all, after we lost to the Rams in the regular season, we didn't lose again. So, we just took off. And like I said, the defensive roster was much different. Of course, and then with the Raiders and with the situation with that game, you've got, Adam Vinatieri happened to make a kick in the snow twice, especially the game time kick. Of course, I know people want to bring up the Tuck rule, but the fact is that was a rule in place, so that wasn't really luck. That was just the rule being applied. So I don't see how that's luck, but so I don't really count that. But the kicks, those are hard kicks. Maybe does Adam make that, if he has to make that kick 10 times, he even said it himself, if he has to kick that ball 10 times, he probably misses 9 out of 10. But he makes it right then. And then we go to Pittsburgh. Tom gets injured at half, in the first half. We have Drew Bledsoe. We have Drew Bledsoe in the back coming out and winning that game for us in Pittsburgh against that amazing Steelers team. And then we go to the Super Bowl, and we're playing one of the greatest offenses ever assembled in the history of mankind. And Ty Law picks off Kurt Warner for a pick six. And all these things have to happen, And then Bill has to make the determination for Tom to go down and instead of playing for overtime. All these things had to happen, And I just want people to understand how hard it is and how hard it was for what they actually did and who they beat. That Rams team was the best team that Tom Brady has ever beaten as a Patriot. And people need to remember that. And can you see us taking out the Chiefs on the way? Because I promise you they're going to be there. Can you see us getting to the Super Bowl and taking out Green Bay or Tampa Bay or even the Rams, possibly even the Cowboys? We lost to them already. So you can't say that the Cowboys don't have a chance against us. So I'm just saying that let's not sit here and get all crazy that there goes our Super Bowl chances because the Bills beat us. All right? We split with the Buffalo Bills. I think that's pretty okay. the Bills were supposed to be a good team, and they've been disappointing. And we've talked about how disappointing they are. Apparently, they've seemed to be getting themselves back together again. And if you guys remember, against the Buccaneers, they started to come back in the second half. So there's a spark there, and maybe they're starting to gel. However, okay, don't let me forget this. I want to bring this up about the Bills. I just want to get everything mentioned. Millie, did someone send a super chat? Oh, there it is. What the hell? Sorry, man. I don't know. It just went up and I didn't see it. Alpha Courage sends a $5 super chat. He says, Bills may win the division again, but we're on pace to win it next season. Keep hopes up, Pats fans. And absolutely, Alpha Courage. Absolutely. And that's why I'm not, freaking out that badly. It's going to be okay. And I'm thinking about, imagine this, guys. How many teams get a chance to get their rookie quarterback experience in the playoffs, to get him to know what it feels like, to get him to know how it is and how things work? I mean, even if again, go back 2001, when Tom Brady, let's say that the Patriots lose to the Raiders or they lost to the Steelers, Tom Brady is still got that experience. Belichick is still going to go with Tom, and that's still going to continue. And there's no reason to think that they still wouldn't come back later. So experience is everything, except Tom Brady just got the best experience, which is winning Super Bowl MVP. I don't expect that this year. If it happens, it'll be the first time you guys ever see me drink alcohol. All right? I'll drink alcohol on camera if that happens. All right? So that's but as far as worrying about it and sitting here and getting all bent out of shape, I'm not too concerned. But to go to my back to the other point, and Alpha Courage is, of course, mentioning the Bills may win the division this year again. On the other end of that spectrum, where I was mentioning that Mac had a favorable death to the opposition, situation, it's not the worst. It's not the easiest one. That distinction, the number one distinction for the most favorable situation on our schedule is Josh Allen. Okay? So Josh Allen has the single most favorable schedule when it comes to strength of opposition in our formula. And what that means is that when you combine winning percentage at the time of kickoff, each time he's played a team, and points allowed, he's had the weakest competition when it comes to all quarterbacks. So what does that mean? Does that mean that Buffalo and New England are about even? Well, they split, didn't they? We have to remember that Buffalo and New England, the one we won a few weeks back, was in a very bad weather situation. It was very odd. You couldn't play the game the way you wanted to. It wasn't just, you couldn't just go out there and sling the ball all over the place and play your normal game plan. As we know, Mac Jones only threw it 3 times. If that was normal circumstances, would we have won? Or would Buffalo have won? Even with the wind and even with the situation like that, Josh Allen was still hitting guys. A lot of guys were dropping the ball and stuff like that, but who knows? So I'm just saying, with all these factors in mind, I'm not too bent out of shape about this at all. Now, if we lose again and keep losing, the next 2 games, yeah, I'm gonna be really pissed off because my expectations aren't that low. They're not that low, okay? But I'm not surprised that we split with Buffalo. I'm just not. You got to remember, guys, this is a good team. So it's not that crazy. Look where they were at just last year. So I expected more out of Mac. I thought that they would be slinging the ball around, and last week I said that Mac would probably go out and throw like a bunch of touchdowns, and we'd win the game. We'd really take it out on Buffalo and stuff like that. And I don't know if that was my reaction to just wanting it to happen or willing it to existence or not. I mean, I'm not a robot, I'm still a fan at the end of the day. And sometimes I get wrapped up into that and thinking, he's going to come back and do it. But this isn't Tom Brady. This is a rookie quarterback. And sometimes I keep thinking that it's our Patriots and we're the machine. We keep pushing through and that's how we're going to react. If that was Tom, I'd say, yeah, Tom was going to come back and murder the Buffalo Bills. But it's not Tom. And it's a rookie. We have to remember that. So, yeah, I was wrong about that one. But at the same time, I'm not surprised that we split with Buffalo. It's not that crazy when you look at it and just look back on it as a whole and go, okay, we split with Buffalo. Is it that weird? And the only thing weird about it, I guess, that anyone wanted to point out is that we win in Buffalo, they win in New England, whatever. So, but again, I don't think this year, I don't think whether the Patriots are at home or away, I'm not seeing a difference in their play and in their preparation. I'm not seeing that as a factor, as where in the past we would see that. I could point out two extreme cases where we had to go on the road to Denver in 2013 and 2015. 2013, we might lose that game even at home. We just weren't that good that year. But in 2015, if that game is in New England, we win. And we go to the Super Bowl and we play Carolina. And the rest is history. So, okay, what are you guys talking about? Dallas is a weird team, guys. I mean, they're kind of, I don't know what to think of them. Sometimes, I like what I see, and I just don't know if I trust them in the playoffs. I don't know if I trust them against all the elite teams when all of the money's on the table. Do you? I mean, do you guys trust Dallas? I'm not sure. I don't think tonight against the Lizard people is anything to brag about. Oh, but Aaron, they beat the Bucs. Well, you know what? The Bucs have the worst coach in the NFL, so don't give me that. So 2 weeks in a row, James Johnson, awesome. His membership has renewed. Thank you, James Johnson. I appreciate it, man. He celebrates eight months of membership. Now, again, I should say consul James Johnson. We only have 2 consuls now, James Johnson and the Red Coat. James Johnson says, Mac is a rookie, and we are probably going to the playoffs. Even if we lose in the wild card, he is a rookie. Remember how long it took Josh Allen to come into his own? Josh has been in the league since 2017. Bills are worried about Mac next year. Okay, so well said. I think we're in agreement, James. We have the same sentiment here. Just experience is good experience, and we're a lot farther along than I ever thought we would be, honestly. I mean, I was kind of excited about this year, but I didn't know about all the new additions and how they were going to work. It just doesn't magically happen. It takes some time, and we haven't experienced a young quarterback like that to really be the future for us in 20 years, and so I just wanted to see how that works. But I think Mac has got a great future ahead of him. I really do. I think our expectations, and I think the league is expecting so much out of him. Mac is not that quarterback, guys. Mac was never brought in to be coming out the gate like Patrick Mahomes. That's not what his game is. He was brought in to be smart with the ball, to be patient, to be able to take hard coaching. And that's one of the biggest attributes that when Bill was looking at these quarterbacks, he was seeing, can these guys handle me? Can they handle how hard it is? Can they handle the pressure? Can they handle being the guy who's supposed to come after Tom Brady? What other quarterback in this draft is going to deal with that? I want to know. So what other guy are you going to pick? And because he's on the Patriots and because he's taken over for Tom, where people are expecting, 40 touchdowns and all this crap, and it's ridiculous. That's not his game. Mac Jones is a evolution project, not what can you do for me right now project. That's the difference, in a sense. Mac played under Nick Saban, and so he kind of knows how it feels to have those expectations to be a leader and to take the team and to know what to do with them. It's not as much about flashy stats as it is overall cohesiveness and getting everyone to gel together. Not to say that Matt can't do that or won't be that in the future, but I'm just saying that was not the intention in the beginning. And people are expecting all this out of him and all this crap. And that's not who he is. That's not what he was picked for. So. Well, see it twice. Those things can be worked on. We've seen it before. Just keep in mind the one thing that we've always preached about. What are the things that you can't teach? What are the things that you can't coach about Mac, right? Because you say his lack of velocity is concerning. We have always said the things you can't teach is leadership, poise, how to deal with situations, how to study, how to be courageous enough to stand in the pocket, take the hit. How many games have we seen Mac Jones' mouth bleeding or nose bleeding or something bleeding? He's always injured or banged up or something. Somebody's hit him. That's because he's staying in the pocket and taking the hit. He's doing that. So that's more than I can ask for most of these young quarterbacks. And things like arm strength and velocity and accuracy to a point. These things can be worked on. These are physical attributes that can be fixed. And, people don't understand that Aaron Rodgers was a mess when he was drafted. His footwork was god-awful. It was horrible. If Aaron is not drafted to Green Bay, I don't know what becomes of him, because it was Mike McCarthy who fixed his footwork. So if Mike McCarthy is not in Green Bay, not to say that there aren't coaches who could have fixed that, but we know that he did, and he did it well. But if Aaron doesn't sit for those few years in order to fix those things and fix those attributes, who knows what happens. But they were fixable is the point. So I'm not too worried about that, honestly, right now. It's the first year. First year's not even over with. So it's not even on my radar as a concern whatsoever. I did see J.C. Jackson today. Okay, I just have to know, what is with these defensive backs? What are not tackling? Has anybody ever heard of wrap-up tackles? Nobody tackles anymore. Nobody wraps up the guy. You had Josh Allen stopped for a first down. This is at the end of the game. We needed that stop. And what do? You do like that Saints player did against Stephon Diggs in the divisional round in 2017 against the Vikings. Remember, he kind of just went at him with his back, like threw himself at him like a missile. Why are guys doing this? The Saints were doing that all last week against the Bucs. What happened to tackling? If he just wrapped them up, Jamie Collins could have finished the tackle. I mean, all you had to do was just try to wrap them up and stop them. And I'm not saying JC could have stopped them completely, because Josh is a big dude and he was, trucking by then. But it would have given the other guys a chance to bring him down. And you just flew yourself at him and it did nothing. You just looked like an idiot doing it. What is going on? And I hope Belichick just completely destroys him on film for doing that, because that was just unacceptable. Nobody tackles anymore. Alpha Courage. $2 super chat from Alpha Courage. Glad to see you're in a better mood this week. Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to come out 2 weeks in a row all pissed off and bitter. Last week made me mad, okay? The reason last week made me mad is not because, and I want to make this clear, guys. The reason I was so angry is not because they lost, okay? Everybody loses. Teams lose. I'm not going to lose my crap just for losing, okay? It's losing 9-0. It's losing 9-0 against a team with no quarterback and no head coach. It's losing 9-0 in a game where I did not see anybody trying. I did not see them acting tough. Other than Tom. Tom was out basically like an island out there, but his focus was all over the place. But he still was trying. I mean, he was going down with the ship. But the other guys, they had no mental toughness. They had no physical toughness. The Saints just owned them, and it was embarrassing. It was like a kid getting pantsed in the schoolyard, you know, by a bully, and then you just taking it instead of doing something about it and defending yourself. And that's what it looked like. That's what the Bucs looked like. And that it was the manner in which it was done and the situation that it was happening under. That's what pissed me off. That's what made me mad. It wasn't just because we lost, you know, just because he lost. It's just not. That's a different thing. You know, I didn't get that mad when they lost to the Rams. I didn't get that mad. You know, I was a little annoyed by losing to the Lizard people. That was kind of pathetic. But in general, no. You know, losing is losing. If I think that you're trying, if I think that you did it, it's just the other guys just, you know, were better. So there was no excuse for that game. No excuse at all. And that was my problem. Yeah, Alpha Courage. Yeah, tackling is practically a penalty. It's like what Milena wrote last week. You know, tickling is the new tackling. It's ridiculous. Okay, Nash Lohan. I'm going to go ahead and point this out. I don't normally do that when it's not a super chat. You know, out of respect for you guys who spend your hard-earned money to make sure that I read it out loud. But this one is something that I picked up on lately, and Nash Lohan says, "Do you think Belichick has gone a bit soft since Brady left?" Yes, and I have noticed it, and the reason is because he has to. Things have changed quite a bit. Over the last 5 to 7 years or so, maybe even a bit longer, the new crop, the new era of young players are overall soft as far as being able to take hard coaching. We're living in an era now of everything is a mental health issue. Everything is my feelings are hurt. Anti-bullying campaigns all the time. I'm against bullying. Okay, I don't like bullying. I was bullied as a little kid. But you know what? I fought back. And then I grew up. And then I grew up to be 6'3", and then nobody messes with you anymore. And then I made sure to protect and help other kids who were in the same position. But that also made me a certain way and made me understand how things work. And again, I'm not saying that bullying to a certain extent is a good thing. It's not. But we've gone too far the other way where we're coddling anybody who's called a name. If you're called a name, you're coddled. If your team loses, you still get a trophy, you know, and that is the kind of situation we're dealing with. Or if a kid can't perform, or if an athlete can't perform, all of a sudden they claim or they choke. What we call choking is now mental health problems, right? Oh, I have mental health problems. You know, Aaron Rodgers was blaming that for his terrible game against the Saints in week 1. Imagine if Tom Brady after last week said, "Oh, I've got mental health issues. That's why we got our asses kicked." Come on, everybody'd be calling him names and stuff. But no, Aaron Rodgers was playing the whole mental health. Now, he didn't say it exactly, but he alluded to the fact because he was using Simone Biles as an excuse and some other athletes as well. But that is where we're headed. And Bill saw that evolution. But why could he get away with it when Tom was there? Because Tom held those guys accountable just as much as Bill did. And if Tom was holding them accountable, what are they going to say? Because Tom is a fellow player. He's not going to put up with it. And what are you going to do then? But Tom's not there anymore to keep things in check, to keep things balanced, and to be that mouthpiece and that mediator, that go-between between Belichick and the players. Tom was the buffer. And a lot of times Tom was more hardcore than Bill was. And that's what I think is happening here. So Bill realized he needed to soften up, but he needed to back off just a bit. And I saw him, Nash, with his interview last week against the media. He apologized to the media for being an asshole. When has Belichick ever apologized for anything? Why is he doing that? He's doing it because he knows he needs the media on his side now. It's not looking good. Everything is about everything is about Brady. He knows that he needs a media to write about him favorably, to cover his ass, to maybe explain things better, not come down on him so hard if things get difficult. He understands this, and I would do the same if I was him. I would recognize that I can't be the same grumpy guy I could be before, because when you're not producing results, and we're not producing results, you can't go 100% hardcore, all right? What allows you to do that is those other factors I spoke of just now, and he doesn't have those things right now. They're not coming off of a Super Bowl, 2018. Honestly, in the NFL world, 2018 is a decade ago. Not for us fans, but for people in the NFL and the media and how they write about the team. That was might as well have been a decade ago. And there's no Brady again to be that buffer, or to be that message deliverer. Julian Edelman even said sometimes Tom was more hardcore than Bill ever was. But Nash, that is what I think's happening. And
Hey, we have a super chat. Mr. A is in the house.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Mr. A, what's up, man? Lazarus has come back from the dead. $20 super chat from Mr. A. Let's go. Hell yeah, buddy. Let's go. Dave Wilhauer joins the Empire. Thank you, Dave, for joining. Appreciate it, man. Welcome, citizen. Mr. A, thank you so much. I appreciate it, my friend. Hope you're doing well in Philadelphia. I know that Philadelphia is not a safe place right now. Neither is LA. Neither is a lot of cities around the country. But Philadelphia especially has been not that safe lately. So I hope you are doing well, and I hope everything's okay. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Welcome, Turbulent Velocity. You know what? I need to put I forgot to put the link for the Join the Empire. If you guys, those of you who want to join, starts at $2 a month. Okay. And by the way, we're going to be scheduling meetings, only members meeting at the beginning of the year very soon, because we need to catch up and we need to discuss this new year coming up and what we've got planned. And I know it's a day late, but I want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas. I hope your Christmas went well. And yes, I still say Merry Christmas. That is how it's done. Melena's mom prepared us a great dinner. We had a good night. It was a lot of fun. So I hope it was great for you guys as well. Oh, okay, Dave. Cool. No, but you still get the 8 months total. So. See it twice. In Arizona, it's not a Murray Christmas. Oh, poor football baby. I told you guys that the Cardinals were pretenders. I just didn't like a lot of things I saw from them, and I felt that they were going to kind of fall apart. Doesn't mean they're out yet. I mean, they're going to go to the playoffs, but I just don't think they're going to do that well. So. Alpha Courage on fire tonight with the Triforce. $5 super chat from Alpha Courage. He says, Ravens fall from 4th seed to out of the playoffs after loss. Hashtag tight AFC. What the hell is going on with the Ravens? They infuriate me. I know. Oh, but they lost Lamar Jackson. Okay. But guess what? They had a chance to tie the game last week against the Packers, a good Packers team, and they went complete idiotic, full moron. They went full Rob Parker and went for 2 with a backup quarterback. And I don't want to hear that. But the backup quarterback's been playing so well, and he doesn't look like a backup quarterback. What's his name? It doesn't matter what his name is. He's a backup quarterback. I don't care. Who cares? You do not go for it when the game's on the line. You do not do a 2-point conversion right there. You kick. You had the advantage. You're at home. You're the Baltimore Ravens. You had all the momentum. You go into overtime. That's it. That's what you're supposed to do. Idiots. And now look where they're at. And even Lamar Jackson is not going to be able to clean this mess up properly. Thank you, Alpha Courage. So, call you Ray Lewis now. Alpha Courage. You like that? Yeah. It just seemed appropriate, didn't it? I want to tell you something about the Packers this year. They've had a weird situation. Of course, they had that game where Aaron Rodgers was out. He was suspended due to religious violations. Just like Antonio Brown was suspended for religious violations. You do not, ever blaspheme the great Lord and prophet of Fauci. So Aaron Rodgers missed a game and they lost, right? But if he had played, did they win? Maybe. They played a very bad Cleveland Browns team. I think they're very bad. I don't care what their record is. I don't think they're that good. I think Baker Mayfield is a garbage quarterback. I think he's Johnny Manziel if Johnny Manziel was sober. That's about it. So, yeah. I'm not sure what I think about them yet as far as winning a Super Bowl. I see so much good with them. But at the same time, I see openings for good teams. They're a bit different than they were last year. I think they're the best team. This is the best version of the Packers and the Matt LaFleur era. Matt LaFleur. LaFleur. God. What a stupid name. Matt LaFleur. Anyway, it's the best Packers team, but do I still think that team has done enough this year, has shown me enough this year for them to win the Super Bowl? I'm not sure yet. I do believe that they'll be in the NFC Championship game just by virtue of getting the number 1 seed. Let's face it, they're probably going to get the number 1 seed, guys. Just by virtue of that, and then only happen to clean up in aisle 6, in the divisional round against a team that's probably not even, it's not obviously not going to be on their level probably. Yeah, they're going to get into the NFC Championship game. But I'm not so sure that they're taking out Tampa Bay still. I'm not so sure that they're taking out even, honestly, Dallas. I'm not sure that they can beat the Rams in a playoff situation. So I'm just not completely sold on them yet. It's just funny how that works, though. It's the best version of them in the last 3 years. But at the same time, other teams are really good right now that I think could stop them. James Johnson sends a $10 super chat. You guys are awesome. Thank you. He says, Merry Christmas. I am who I am today because of the trials and failures in my life. I learned and grew as a person by overcoming adversity. You live and learn. If you're done learning, you're done living. And I love that, and James, just expand on that about learning and things like that. I don't do New Year's resolutions, and I don't know how you guys feel about them. I'm not against them. I mean, I'm not like making fun of people who do New Year's resolutions. It's just, for me, I have a different process. When New Year's comes and everyone is, watching the time run out, and then it becomes a new year, and people are thinking, I'm going to do this year, I'm going to do this differently or do that differently. In most cases, it lasts for a few days, maybe a few weeks, and then they don't do nothing about it. That's not what I do. I don't care that it's a new year in the sense that it's a date on the calendar. Okay, it's a revolution, right? Fine. I don't get sad about it being a new year because it's one more year that I'm on this earth. And I think that's a good thing. Just like I don't get depressed when it's my birthday. I don't understand why people get depressed when it's their birthday. When I was young and in high school, I grew up in a small town, but a very weird small town where it was built around 2 major railroad companies. In fact, it's the only place in the country where the major railway stations cross each other consistently. And that meant that a lot of stupid teenagers would race the train, try to beat the train instead of waiting, and they would get killed in car accidents. And we had this happen quite a bit. And it seemed like once a year this would happen to somebody we knew or one of our friends. And every time I have a birthday, and as I get older, I think, they didn't even get to live life. They didn't survive high school. Today would be their 30th birthday or their 35th birthday or whatever, And it doesn't bother me. It's just one more year that I'm still here. I'm still around. That's a great thing. I mean, what are you going to do? Get depressed because time has passed? You can't stop it. But as far as New Year's goes, for me, it's a reflection. It's a grade on the past. I look back on the past year. So this New Year's, I will look at the year 2021, and I will ask myself, did I improve? Am I a smarter person than I was a year ago? Am I more wise? Am I a better person? Am I a nicer person? Do I feel better about myself? Do I think I did a good job? Are there things I could have done better? There's all kinds of stuff, right? And that's what I do with New Year's. And if you cannot, and like James is saying, if you're done learning, you're done living. If you can't do some self-reflection and sit there and go, okay, I could learn more here. I could do better there. I could listen more. I could do that better. If you can't do that, you're not really going to improve. And the same goes with, having things not go your way. And like James said, that's made him who he is. So I wholeheartedly agree with that. Damn, you guys are on fire tonight. Elva Courage says another super chat for $5. Says, not football related, but when you get the chance, VA, Google search Hojo Samurai Clan. You'll see an ancient symbol that will look very familiar. I'll do it right now. The Triforce. Huh. I wonder if that's where they got it from. Or who's came first? I don't know anything about this samurai clan, is it? Well, I'm assuming it's an ancient samurai clan. So that would be the Zelda got it from them, apparently. All right. Oh, that's cool. That is cool. Nice. Why'd you delete Russell's comment?
For YouTube.
Oh, okay. Yeah, YouTube, they've been sticklers about things lately. Yeah. Yeah, Mr. A, I think the Lions are just playing for pride at this point and trying to see, you can build up, a program even at the end of the year. If you're not going to make the playoffs, you could still take that, learn some things about yourself, learn about, you're essentially looking at all the players on your team and seeing who gives up, see who is getting better or not. And you basically use it as a preseason evaluation, and it helps quite a bit. So you still want to try, you don't just quit. And I think that's what they're going on there. So. It's rare for number one seeds to, it's rare lately. The last time, well, never mind, somebody already put it, but Seattle and Denver were the last two, I think. So. I'm pretty sure, I think before that, it was, weren't the Eagles number one in 2004? I think they were first. I know we were. Oh, never mind. There it is. See it twice. Has got it. Okay, so Philly and New England. New England and Atlanta. Atlanta, they weren't the number one seed. Were they? They were 11-5. They were the number one seed at 11-5? That's strange. New England and Seattle, not sure about. Seattle and Denver, yes. New Orleans and Indianapolis, let's see. Oh, yeah, they were, huh? Yeah. Alpha Curse says, what is this pride you speak of? I meant a lion pride, Alpha Courage. I didn't mean they actually had real pride. See, you like how that was as well done as a politician right there.
Yeah.
So. Oh, Mike, yes. So Nick Foles, the man, comes in. He plays for Chicago today, starts for Chicago, and what do? Victory. Flawless victory. Actually, it wasn't flawless at all. It was pretty ugly. But they got it. They won in Seattle, in the snow. Nick Foles. He's always good for one random, weird, and awkward victory. I swear.
It's not like a video game.
Yeah, it was from Mortal Kombat. Yeah. flawless victory. Finish him. Atlanta was number 1? How did they get number 1 at 11-5? That is so weird. How awful was that conference if they got number 1? Are you sure? Are you guys sure about that? Atlanta was 2. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of a team getting a number 1 seed with that record before. So there's something else I want to point out to you guys. You're not going to like it. Okay? I'm going to open it real quick. Hang on just a second. Okay. James Johnson renders unto Caesar $2 and declares the 2016 Cowboys were 13-3. That makes sense. Yep, that makes sense. I remember that now. Yep, Dak was on fire that year. Yep. And then, of course, they immediately lose in their first game. And Dallas Cowboys style. That was the big game. If my memory's correct, that is where Aaron had that big throw against Jared Cook that everyone slobbers over. And they ended up beating Dallas. And, yeah, then they go on to play Atlanta. And they had to play in Atlanta because Atlanta was the 2nd seed. Yeah. So, I just said I have some information you're not going to be happy about. It's not everything, but it's a good indicator. All right. The number 2 most difficult schedule, according to our formula, the 2nd is Patrick Mahomes. What this means is that not only is Kansas City winning again and they're getting quality victories. Other than there's a few, situations that I would say is kind of not count. Like they're getting credit for the Green Bay game when in reality, what made Green Bay certain way when, as far as the opposition statistics go, that was Aaron Rodgers who gave them those statistics and made them that good. But then Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, so they actually got to go up against Jordan Love. So that is a bit off. But overall, still, it shows you that Kansas City is playing quality football overall in general. It's not like, at least for this, in this instance, they are not just beating up on a bunch of losers, right? So that's something to think about. And, can't do nothing about it. It's just, that's the truth. But I do want to point this out. And this is going to be shocking to you. Now, Actually, hold that thought. I'll be right back. 60 seconds. Okay. So there's something interesting, and I know a lot of you guys don't, um, or I know a lot of you guys aren't on the Facebook private group, and if you were, it's because, and you're not anymore, it's because the original group got taken down by Facebook, um, because they're soft pansies. They don't believe in the First Amendment. But we created a second one, but there was some conversation regarding Justin Herbert, and there's a guy on there who is, well, he used to be named Johnny Muggins, but now he's called Seth Maxwell. Yeah, and he does a lot of work, or not a lot of work. He does a lot of commenting and things like that in the group. Doesn't really interact with VAS in general, though. He's not a big. He doesn't support the channel that at all. I don't ever see him watching the shows or watching the videos or commenting on the videos. He never clicks like on anything. But he mainly just stirs up shit in the group on Facebook. And what I noticed was something regarding Justin Herbert. And a gentleman named Caleb posted a statistic about Justin Herbert, and this guy, Seth, or whatever, I don't know his real name. I have no idea what his real name is, but talked a bunch of shit about Justin and saying how, Caleb said he was elite. All right, well, whatever. But, Seth took exception to that and started going after him about it and all this crap, and then comparing it to the Mahomes situation, how we said we can't call Mahomes, we wouldn't call Mahomes elite back then when he had all those stats. Okay. So, and for the record, I'm not calling him out. I was just kind of giving you a background of this situation, because generally he enjoys, stirring shit up. He likes being contrarian. He makes weird team picks at the end of the year or when it's obvious who is the front runners, and then pretends like that is some kind of revelation, some kind of amazing Nostradamus level shit, when actually it just each week it becomes more and more obvious who's good and who's most likely to be in the playoffs. So it's not that big of a deal at all, but he just likes stirring the pot and kind of getting a rise out of people. And with the situation with Justin Herbert is that, first of all, you cannot compare Herbert and the way that people are talking great about him and the way that people are promoting him and all these things, okay? Compared to Mahomes, first of all, okay? Mahomes, I have never seen the amount of endless rim jobs on one guy ever in my life as Patrick Mahomes received since the day he started in this league. It's unprecedented. I have seen people fawn over John Elway. I remember people going nuts over Peyton Manning, Brett Favre. Just when you think all that couldn't get more disgusting and make you more sick, Aaron Rodgers took it to a whole other level of nauseous, disgusting slurping, all right? But all that is nothing in comparison to the Patrick Mahomes effect. So that's the first thing. Second, other than that gentleman, Caleb, who wrote that he was elite, I don't think in general people think he's elite, or if they do, they have a weird description of what the word elite should mean when it comes to a quarterback. Now, for me, he's not elite, because to be elite means that not only do you have to have the statistics, you have to have those statistics translate to something relevant, something meaningful. And I gave an example when I wrote about this, Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers was a very good, competent quarterback for a long time, and he's got all these crazy stats and stuff, but he was never elite. He was never elite. And why? Because none of it ever transferred anything. You can't even say that he got an MVP. He didn't even get an MVP. Never made it to a Super Bowl. He never played in a Super Bowl. And how many times did they have great teams and come up short? So all those stats are nice, but if you play long enough, you're going to get those stats. If Jared Goff keeps playing for the next 15 years, he's going to get those stats too. Without ever going, and Jared went to his actual Super Bowl, but no one's going to think of him as elite. So you need both, in my opinion. And you need to show that you are a good quarterback. You need to show that you are producing. And I'm saying you don't even have to produce like Dan Marino, okay? Just if you're going to the Super Bowl, your team's consistently winning, you're constantly leading them to relevant things, that is when you are elite. So in this context, no. Justin Herbert is not elite. But there's one thing I want to point out here that I've thought that Seth, or whatever his real name is very wrong about. And again, I don't know if he's just doing this to be contrarian like he normally does. People seem to eat it up. I don't know why. I've known him for years. It seems like he just picks out certain people to kind of go after. But in this case, he's just flat out wrong. He's flat out incorrect about Justin Herbert, saying that Justin Herbert is overrated or he's not good at all, that great at all. Or, I'm not exactly quoting what he said, but that's the basic vibe you get from what he's saying. First of all, last year, as a rookie, Justin Herbert finished in the top 10 of our quarterback MVP formula. And to let you understand how hard that is and how difficult that is, our formula punishes a quarterback when you lose. As where in the regular season MVP league, your touchdowns count no matter if you win or lose. Your yards count if you win or lose. Nobody distinguishes the difference. And as long as you don't have a garbage record, you could be up for MVP. You need a winning record, of course, but, we've seen them make exceptions, like Adrian Peterson, for example. But you don't get those discounted. Our formula, if you lose that game, your touchdowns don't mean as much. They're watered down. They're watered down by 75%. Yards are watered down by 75%. Completions are watered down. And interceptions are multiplied by 75%. So when this happens, it's very difficult to get ahead in the formula when you're losing. So Justin Herbert last year was on a losing team, but yet he still managed to get into the top 10. He was the only player in the top 10 that was able to do that as a rookie. That means that he was hitting on every category. He was hitting high on every category: touchdowns, completions, passing yards, interceptions, quarterback details like air yards, first downs, game-winning drives, drops, sacks, sack yards lost, accurate throws, batted down throws, all of these things combined. Coaching, salary cap, death to the opposition, all of these categories combined, he managed to get into the top 10 as a rookie. Now, this year, you guys ready for this? Going into this weekend. Now, after what happened today with Houston and with some other quarterbacks getting victories, I doubt his position will stay exactly the same, although it might. This is how crazy of a year this guy's having. Going into this week, before all these games started in week 16, Justin Herbert is number one. Justin Herbert is the best quarterback in the league according to these metrics. Now, remember, our MVP is for the whole year. It's not just for the season, regular season. It's for the playoffs as well. It's a whole year. But it doesn't even mean that he's going to win MVP in the NFL's Associated Press MVP. It doesn't mean that. It just shows us, because this switches quite a bit, but it just shows us he's number one. He's 8-6 going into the sweep. He is the only guy in the top 10 with a record that bad. And he's number one. Number one with an 8-6 record. He's got 32 points. Just to put in comparison, the second place person is Tom Brady with 27.7 points. He's got nearly a 5-point lead on Tom Brady in our formula. Now, there are a few things missing, but they only account for 20%, that is, of 10% of the total formula. I haven't added those yet, which are the VonAllen Sports, the VAS modifiers, which mean that it goes game by game to show, did he throw more touchdowns than the team he's playing allowed, or did he throw more yards than the team he's playing allowed? But those are just bonus points. They could move the needle a little bit more, but for right now, he's in the lead. He's number one. First place is Justin Herbert. Second is Tom Brady. Third is Aaron Rodgers. Fourth, Matthew Stafford. Okay? So, and of course, anybody is welcome to argue, okay, but I don't care about your formula. I don't care about, maybe it's not correct. Well, I think it's pretty damn good, and I think it gives you an exact account of how things are happening. It takes into account coaching. It takes into account offensive coordinators. Everything that you could imagine in a quarterback on what is relevant to their success and how important they are to the team. Justin Herbert passes that test. Do I think that he's going to end the season number one? Of course not. In fact, I think Tom and Aaron will both bump him after this weekend is all said and done. But it doesn't matter. Up until this point, up until before week 16, he had been number one, and that to me matters. And that to me is awesome. A second-year guy. That's great, right? So maybe the hate that this guy has on Herbert is because the rest of us are talking good about him. I've made a lot of comments about Justin Herbert that I like him, and I think he is the future. I think he is one of the great quarterbacks that we're going to see. And I even compared it to a situation where, as long as Mac Jones can get better and improve and stay consistent, it could be a Peyton Manning, Tom Brady situation. Not like that, not at that level, but what I mean is where one guy is about winning and the team thing, and then stats are kind of, play second or third fiddle to the other stuff. And Justin Herbert will be all, racking up the fancy stats and stuff, but perhaps not getting the success and not getting the consistent winning in that manner. And I think that could be a situation that could be seen in the future. But yeah, that's all. I'm not saying he's elite. I would never say that yet. So he hasn't done enough to make those things translate. But he does have a dumbass coach. His coach is a moron. I've spoken at length about this, about these new coaches, about coaching based off of analytics only. It's there's a lot of mathematical paradoxes that would tell you why you can't go back on off of analytics only, and there are other variables and factors that have to be taken into account. I'm not going to bore you guys with all that crap, but just trust me on this. Going by analytics alone is not a way to coach a football team. It is not a way to make decisions. It's as scary to me, and I'm only going to say this because it's a similar situation, but when I saw, a few weeks ago, Joe Biden said, I'm going to do exactly everything the scientists tell me to do. And I looked at Millie and I said, well, that's effing scary. Because if a president is a slave to one thing and not considering all the other variables, that is not good. That is not what you... If that's the case, then Fauci should be president, in my opinion. I don't think a president should listen to anybody 100%. You've got to look at the variables. And head coaches are listening to the analytics. Oh, what's it say? What should we do? Okay. Yeah, all right. Fine. Wrong. No. Analytics is a tool. It could give you an idea of something. It could give you kind of guide you in a certain sense, but it doesn't tell you what you should do 100%. And these guys, and hey, this is not speculation. They've admitted it. Yeah, we looked at the analytics and we made that decision, blah, blah, blah. Okay. No. You've got to look at all scenarios and the situation itself. And that could be the one thing that holds Justin Herbert back, especially if this dipshit is the coach for years to come. So, and remember, Justin's a young guy. It's not like Matt LaFleur when he went in with Aaron Rodgers. Well, he's got Aaron Rodgers. Let me tell you something. The moment Aaron Rodgers is not playing for Matt LaFleur, that whole thing goes to shit. All right? The whole thing, it just collapses. It's the same thing with teams right now wanting to interview Byron Leftwich. Why? Why would you interview Byron Leftwich? For what? What do you want him to do? Do you understand that Tom Brady coaches him more than he coaches Tom Brady? Do you think that you are getting Tom Brady? He's not ready. Maybe he'll be ready, perhaps in a few more years. He's not ready. How long did Josh McDaniels work with Tom Brady before he got a coaching job? Look how that went. Care to go down the list? Charlie Weiss, Bill O'Brien? No. Okay? And those guys had experience. It still wasn't a guarantee. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, that's how I feel about it. So. Oh, it's a good question. If the Bucs win the Super Bowl and AB has a big game, is he a lock for the Hall of Fame? Isn't he a lock for the Hall of Fame already? Like, I didn't even know that was a question. Unless you're considering that they're going to give him crap because of the recent thing that happened, which everyone's giving him crap for. I'm sick of hearing about it. So. I don't know. Do the Hall of Fame bus, do they have to come with a vaccination card to get inducted? I'm just curious. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, okay. Well, regarding T.O., guys, and the way he was treated with the Hall of Fame, that was a disgrace. And that was one of the first of many situations that devalued the Hall of Fame. It made them hypocrites. And it showed that it's not about who you are as a football player. It shows that it's more about what you got to keep in mind. A lot of these voters are the media, and we know how corrupt the media is. And they don't think in terms of what's right and they think of in terms of how they're feeling and their own ideology and their own agenda and their own personal thoughts and stuff. They don't have. There's nobody more corrupt than the media right now in the United States, and that's including politicians, lawyers, and corporations and things like that. They're all corrupt, but the media by far is the worst. They're a cancer. Okay, but a lot of those guys are on the committee to do the Hall of Fame. And the ones that aren't part of the media are generally like executives, former executives of different teams and stuff. And they had a problem with T.O. For whatever reason, everybody knows his situation. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Was his on-the-field product enough to make him the elite amongst the elite? All right? For a wide receiver, your stats is really all you have because you don't have as much control over a game as a quarterback does. And that's why we assign rings and we assign wins to quarterbacks, but we don't necessarily assign them to other players. Now we do if there's like a tie between them, and a roughly a tie. And what I mean by that is both have great stat lines for their era, but one guy's got some rings, the other guy doesn't. Then we give the nod to that guy. But generally speaking, his stats and his production is all he has, and they kept him out for 3 years in a row. That's a disgrace. And then when Randy Moss came along, they made him a first ballot Hall of Famer. Well, T.O. never took plays off. T.O. never quit on the field. Okay? I think quitting on the field and taking plays off like Randy Moss did, I think that's worse than doing sit-ups in your driveway. Okay. I just, so if we're comparing the two, but why? They liked Randy. And they didn't have a problem with him. So he gets in first ballot. But if you're trying to make an example, first of all, the example was stupid to begin with. You should have put T.O. in immediately. But if you were trying to set an example, then you were going to have to do that with Randy. And you're going to have to do that with everybody else too in the future. You're going to have to do that if Ben Roethlisberger gets in. I don't know if he will. But if he gets in, are you going to consider, his past and some things that he was accused of? I don't know. Are they going to do that for Antonio Brown? It depends on how much they hate him. Basically, what he's done recently, since almost the entire media is what I call the regime media, yeah, they're gonna throw the book at him on that one. So yeah, they'll probably keep him out for years. So it's all stupid. And they further devalued the Hall of Fame during the NFL 100 anniversary, and they started throwing around Hall of Fame busts like Oprah's favorite things, You get a Hall of Fame bust, then you get a Hall of Fame bust, then you. And they just started going around surprising every coach that anybody just knows the name of. Oh, here you go, you get in, you get in, you get in. And now they're just putting guys who are old guys from the past that, I'm sorry, but if you got to wait 20 years, you shouldn't get in. That's just stupid. Why? I mean, come on. I was against Drew Pearson getting it. Okay? So I don't know. I have a high standard for the Hall of Fame, but they certainly devalued it with the things that they have done in the past. And then they're going to devalue it even more when they put Eli Manning in, which they're going to do. So, and that just makes me sick. Alpha Courage on fire. Alpha Courage sends a $5 super chat and says, last super chat, which was the best Pats game? 54 points on the Jets or 25-0 against the Falcons? 54 points on the Jets, man. Embarrassing the Jets. That, nothing compares, right? Nothing compares to embarrassing that disgusting, revolting, pathetic organization that is the New York crashing Jets, basically. Whoa, this thing's frozen.
Yeah, is it? You want a new one?
No, it's actually good. Doesn't matter, Jalen. I don't care. We've had this argument before. Eli Manning is not a Hall of Famer. The standards for the Hall of Fame are so high. You have to remember, guys, when you put a guy in the Hall of Fame, you're saying that they are this equal to the other guys that are there. Are you willing to say that Eli Manning is equal to Peyton? Are you willing to say that Eli is equal to Tom Brady? Equal to Joe Montana? Equal to Dan Marino and John Elway? No. Okay? But the crap that they've already done and the crap that they've already allowed, yeah, he's going to get in. And that's just going to further make the Hall of Fame pointless. So, until they open up a whole new division, like a side division for guys like Brady, guys like Belichick, guys like Montana, Bill Walsh, Paul Brown, they're going to have to split them up because it's ridiculous. Bill Cowher's in there now? Really? Why? It's just pointless. Namath doesn't belong there, Jalen. Joe Namath doesn't belong there. But just because he's in there doesn't mean, okay, so they made a bad decision back then, so we keep making bad decisions from now on? and just further devaluing it because so-and-so is in there. So let's just let everybody in there then. Because if we're going by the standards of, oh, well, Joe Namath is in there. Well, my God, just about every decent quarterback in the last 20 years is supposed to get in then. Joe Namath got in on a technicality that he helped the Jets win Super Bowl III. It was the defining moment in the NFL that led to the AFC NFC merger that showed that the AFC was just as good as the NFC. At the time, the AFL is just as good as the NFL. And that historic moment and his larger-than-life persona got him in. So it was a decision of the time. If you look at him as a quarterback, no. It's not worthy, in my opinion. But you also have to understand that we need to remove a lot of people from the Hall of Fame. How about all those Packers players and all those guys from the 50s and crap? Some of them were okay, but like half those teams, I mean, it's ridiculous the kind of people that are in there that nobody even heard of. Even people back then probably didn't even know who they were, but yet they've got a bust in the Hall of Fame and that equal footing with the other guys. It's just, yeah, there's a lot of problems like that. So yeah, if I was in charge, I'd start ripping some bust out immediately, or at least make a new division. Okay, maybe I wouldn't take them out because that'd just be kind of be wrong to do that. But I would at least make a new division for the real greatest of greats, the Mount Olympus, the gods, so to speak, of NFL lore. So, yeah. Is Chris Carter a Hall of Famer? Yeah, he's actually in the Hall of Fame. Oh, never mind. See it twice, said it already. Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, Alpha Courage, right. So a lot of the old Raiders guys didn't get to Hall of Fame that maybe if we take a look, maybe they should have been, some of them. So there's this bias that they don't go by certain things, and they don't go entirely based on football. And there's other things involved, which kind of, to me, makes it kind of, whatever. Like, I used to care about the Hall of Fame game and watching the guys give speeches, and now it's just, I only watch it for one guy that I think deserves it. Like, I watched it for Peyton. I think I watched it for I mean, like for example, I don't think Calvin Johnson belongs in the Hall of Fame. Certainly, at least not first ballot. So I don't know what that was all about, but he got in. I don't agree with that. So, but again, my standards are way up here because I take it to mean that we're talking about the best that's ever lived. That is a big deal. What did you do for your time? What did you do for the NFL? Did you change the NFL? Did all those things? And did it translate over? And like I said, regarding Calvin Johnson, maybe he's a Hall of Famer at a certain point, but not first ballot. That's for sure. That I will defend, that he is not a first ballot. James Johnson says a $2 super chat. Says Jalen is salty for losing the bet. Which bet was that? Are you talking about the bet where he said the Bucs are going to be undefeated or something? Is that one? Now, see, I don't know. I don't think Jim Kelly. I don't think Jim Kelly's a Hall of Famer. I just don't. that there's a lot of guys that, to me, it's got to be, I mean, you've got to be extraordinary. And it's just, yeah, he's in, but I don't know. So it depends on, are we talking my Hall of Fame or the Hall of Fame based on their standards or what their standards were? Then yeah, but I don't know if he gets into my Hall of Fame. We'll see. You'll have to wait and see for the greatest quarterbacks of all time and see where he ranks. Jim Kelly might rank up there. He might get some nice points from appearing in 4 Super Bowls. So that does hold some weight. So maybe he does. We'll see. But he's not in my Hall of Fame. So, no. In my Hall of Fame, no. No Jim Kelly. Yeah, you've got to do there's so many things. And then at the very least, if they're going to allow just anybody in. So I don't understand why they have a quota, Why can't, maybe sometimes there's just nobody to induct. Maybe there's only one guy. Maybe there's only 2. But what they do is they have 1 guy or 2 guys on the schedule, and then they have 5 other dudes that were just thrown in there. Oh, so-and-so's been waiting on the list for 35 years. Let's go ahead and put him in. Oh, wait, no, he's dead. Okay, we'll call his son or daughter and see if they can present the award. Oh, wait, they're dead too. Do they have any grandkids? Yeah, have them come up there and they'll talk about how great their grandfather was. And nobody knows who the hell this fucking guy is. But he's in the Hall of Fame now because we have to have a certain number of people. That's what it's come down to. Am I being too harsh? Yes, Terry Bradshaw. You have to let him in. 4 rings. It's undeniable. You can't ignore that. And it's not. I know his overall stats aren't great. He's got a lot of interceptions. In fact, I think his interception to touchdown ratio was close to even. But consider the time frame. Consider how things worked back then. But people like to have this revisionist history kind of thing. Or actually, it's not even that. It's more of a misremembering of Terry Bradshaw's impact as a Steeler. This guy wasn't, it's not like he was Jimmy Garoppolo riding the 49ers to a Super Bowl appearance, in 2019. It's not like he was, some journeyman quarterback who just got kind of pulled along for the ride. No, he's got MVPs, he's got both kinds. So he has done the work. He has performed. He's a part of those rings. It's not like it was just given to him. So I think Terry Bradshaw is the exception when it comes to bad stats or not phenomenal stats, but you can't argue with 4. You can't argue with 4. That's just ridiculous. So yeah, I see it twice. I love Kurt Warner, but I'm not sure that he did enough, long enough. One of my favorite players of all time. Even Warren Moon. Warren Moon's one of my favorite players of all time. I'm not sure about him, and I'm using the word sure because he could or couldn't. But that is what the in the offseason, that is what our top greatest quarterbacks of all time are going to decide. The formula will tell us, and it'll deal with every aspect of what it means to be a quarterback in your era. It will not take, it will take into account your era and your relevance to your era. So nobody gets left out in the cold. You are what you are in your own time. And we'll find out. We'll find out and see. But again, my standard for this is very high, and there's a lot of them. I just really wish Kurt Warner could have won that Super Bowl against the Steelers. That would have made him 2-1. He would have been MVP of the Super Bowl again. That would have given him 2 regular season MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. And he would have been the first quarterback to win a Super Bowl with 2 different teams. And that would have made it undeniable. So. Elliot, why is Calvin Johnson not a first ballot? He didn't do anything long enough, and he was on a garbage fucking team where he was the only target, and that did nothing, and they did nothing, and none of it translated to anything, and that is why he wouldn't be first ballot Hall of Famer. I loved Megatron. Milena, you can vouch for that. He was one of my favorite players. All I ever did was talk about Megatron. Every year I'd write to the Patriots, can you guys trade for Megatron? Right? Like every year. So, no, I mean, it's just first ballot. First ballot is supposed to mean something, you know? And keep in mind, Terrell Owens did not get first ballot. He was kept out. And you're going to let Calvin Johnson in? T.O. played in a lot of playoff games. T.O. went to the Eagles and got them in a zone and just added this fire to the team. I'm not talking about what happened later, but honestly, I think a lot of the Eagles' downfall and a lot of that was Donovan McNabb. People don't want to point this out. Donovan McNabb was just as much of a problem as they say T.O. was on Philadelphia. Donovan McNabb was a jealous, petty douche, all right? Terrell Owens comes to Philadelphia, and everyone loves this guy. They're all excited, and Donovan didn't like it. I remember this very well. I followed the Eagles that season because it was It was circus. It was so much fun. I loved it. I liked T.O. coming up out of San Francisco. I thought he was a great player, and I thought it was exciting to see Philadelphia have that kind of dynamic with them, especially if they've been to so many NFC Championship games. They just couldn't get to the Super Bowl. T.O. comes along. He got injured. The guy is supposed to be out for the year. He comes back, plays in the Super Bowl, has a great game against us. What is he supposed to be playing? If you guys remember that Super Bowl, it was Donovan McNabb that choked. It was Donovan McNabb that was reportedly thrown up in the huddle and dry heaving because the moment was too big for him. But people remember T.O. in that Philadelphia situation like that. But T.O. did things that was significant. He went to Dallas, and Dallas became a contender with him. And he seemed to be a factor on the field everywhere he went. You know, not counting the, maybe the end, but even in Cincinnati, he ended up outplaying Chad Johnson at the time. And he was already kind of getting up there in age. But all those things at T.O., and yeah, they kept his ass out. If they would have stayed consistent, you're going to put Calvin Johnson in at number 1? The first ballot? The guy quit. He quit football. He just quit football. Sorry, first ballot Hall of Fame is a big deal. It's supposed to matter. It's supposed to be important. And those are my reasons. I think Jalen's just trying to get me going. I'm not Am I going to take the bait? Am I going to take the bait? Jalen. So Eli Manning somehow beat the Patriots, beat Bill Belichick, okay. I seem to remember the Giants defense annihilating Tom Brady. Okay, cool. But it's not enough. Did you hear what I just said about Terry Bradshaw? Why I made an exception for Terry Bradshaw? Terry has 4 rings, but not just that. If you notice, I pointed out, he has MVPs, okay? He even has regular season MVP. So that means that he was the best quarterback in the league. Eli Manning has never been the best quarterback in the NFL in any year of his existence. He's never been top 5 in any year of his career. So they have 2 horseshoe up your ass like playoff runs. Outside of that, and they were great. Okay, they were great. They were awesome. Especially that 07 run. That 07 run is a run for the ages. Probably the most difficult gauntlet, most hardcore. Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be the most impressive run ever. But that wasn't just Eli, and it's not accompanied with other things. It's just not enough. If Eli had snuck in a regular season MVP where he just was just awesome, and he was, dude, the guy led the league in interceptions, 4 or 5 times? That's, at least balance that with something. Balance it out with some regular season MVPs like Brett Favre did. Brett Favre, he threw a lot of picks, man. But he also won 3 MVPs. He also went to 2 Super Bowls. He won 1, but he was a great quarterback every year of his career. Eli just had those 2 Super Bowls, and I question whether or not he was MVP in either of them. And that's it. That's all he's got. Now, that's a great thing, and that's why he got paid $30 million a year. That's why he is famous. That's why everyone knows who he is. But that is not enough, in my opinion. But they will put him in. They will put him in for one reason, because of Patriot hatred. They're going to use the logic that Jalen just used, that he beat Bill Belichick 2 times in the Super Bowl, and that's it. That's what they're going to use. But if we're going by that, I mean, my God, when are we putting Tom Coughlin in? Are we going to put Tom Coughlin in the Hall of Fame, the head coach? Pretty sure he had more to do with that than Eli did. He knows Belichick. He knew the Parcells way. He knows it. He's got it down. What about Justin Tuck? Was Osi Umenyiora on the 2011 Giants, or was he only on the 07 Giants? I can't remember if Osi was still there. If Osi was still there, does Osi get it too? Is he a Hall of Famer? Justin Tuck a Hall of Famer? I mean, we could just keep doing this, because it's not like Eli was overwhelmingly the factor. So. Well, Matt Stafford is not a bad quarterback. They were just on this is a bad organization in general, but still, I mean, we're talking the difference between what's a first ballot Hall of Famer and what's a second year Hall of Famer, second ballot Hall of Famer. We're having to talk about the differences so minute. It's so small, and just the way tip the scales barely one thing or another, because the second ballot Hall of Famer, the first ballot Hall of Famer, there might not be much difference between them. So you got to look at those small differences, and those differences that I mentioned about Megatron, I think pushes him off of the first ballot. So. By the way, Calvin Johnson, if he didn't like the Lions, he could have gotten out. He didn't have to sign those renewal contracts. He could have asked for a trade. He could have become a free agent. He made those decisions to stay with such a garbage organization. I don't want to hear it. Barry Sanders did the same thing. Yes, it sucks, but you didn't have to. You didn't have to. No one made you do that. You decided to stay with those garbage people and that garbage organization. A bunch of communists, those Ford family fucks. They're all commies. See it twice, busting out the super chat. See it twice as a $5 super chat. By the way, guys, See It Twice is a great group on Facebook. Go to his group and See It Twice. If you want, feel free to put a link. It's not spamming, I promise. It's fine. Put a link. But he reviews movies. He's a big movie fan. Obviously, you can tell by his name. But it's fun. I'm in there too. We talk about movies and give opinions, stuff like that. Check it out. It's fun. Okay. See It Twice says, I'm more wondering why Phillip Rivers is said to be a Hall of Famer by many, but Matt Ryan isn't. Neither should get in, but Ryan is better. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. Neither of them are Hall of Famers, but Matt Ryan is better. Just by virtue of Matt Ryan having an MVP and comparable stats and long-term, longevity playing in the league. Matt Ryan went to a Super Bowl. He's easily got the leg up over Phillip Rivers. But neither are Hall of Famers. I mean, Matt still has a career left. We don't know what he's going to do. Maybe Matt leaves the Falcons, goes somewhere else, and wins some Super Bowls or something. Who knows? But if he stays on the trajectory he's on, no, he's Phillip Rivers with an MVP and a Super Bowl appearance, which is good, but not good enough. Yeah, Captain Forever. I think Tom Coughlin is a great coach, and I think he doesn't get enough respect and enough. He's not talked about enough, but he had Belichick's number quite a bit. And if you remember, even when he was an executive for the Jaguars, he gave us a tough time in that AFC Championship game. And if it wasn't for Tom Brady being the freaking alien that he is, we don't win that game. So Tom Coughlin has always got Belichick, sized up. And it's because they both come from the Parcells family. They come from the Parcells way of doing things, and they have a similar approach. And they know each other well, but Tom Coughlin seems to just know how to neutralize, Bill's game plans in that sense. So no, Steve Spagnuolo wasn't the defensive coordinator in 2011. So I'm starting to feel that Steve it wasn't as much as it was Steve Spagnuolo as it was Tom Coughlin. A lot of times these coordinators are just appendages of the head coach, just an extension, an arm extension. Like, for example, Eric Bieniemy of the Kansas City Chiefs, the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs. Does anyone believe that he is the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs? Does anyone think that if he is given a team that you're going to get the Chiefs? Come on. Andy Reid is the offensive coordinator. It's obvious. I mean, it's as ridiculous as trying to hire the Saints offensive coordinator and expecting that you're going to get Sean Payton. I think that's what happens with a lot of these coordinators is that people don't see the reasons and why they are doing what they're doing. It's a lot of fool's gold out there. And we see a lot of fool's gold out there. Again, the Chargers head coach, Brandon Staley, is fool's gold. like hiring Byron Leftwich right now to be your head coach is like Brandon Staley. That's what's going to happen. That's what you're going to end up with, is that kind of crap. So. Marshall Faulk. What about Marshall? Oh, Marshall Faulk's definitely a Hall of Famer. Douchebag. Can't stand that asshole. But, yeah, Hall of Famer probably. I need to look at his stats again. But just my gut feeling, that like what I know about him, what I remember about him accomplishing, I think he qualifies. I think he crosses the line over. He was MVP. Being MVP at that position was very difficult in the 21st century. Super Bowl champion, of course, played in 2. Again, I know we don't always apply it to running backs, but that does count for something. So, but the MVP is impressive. And I need to look at his career stats, though. No, Captain Forever. Megatron never had to sign his big payday. He didn't have to sign that. He could have just opted out. He didn't have to do that. So he waited way too long. So. Marshall Faulk is one of those hybrid guys, and really kind of put that on the map. Now, I know John Taylor was actually has a better, well, I wouldn't say better, but he's more the originator of that, being the whole pass catching back. You could run between the tackles, but you also can catch passes, do things with that. Now we see that all the time, and that's a famous thing. But Marshall Faulk was really a guy who just really took that, and ran with it, so to speak. No pun intended. Yeah. As far as a person, I think he's a douchebag. But my opinion on him personally has nothing to do with him as a player. And that's what I'm saying. Just like as growing up, I idolized Warren Moon, but I'm not sure that he's a Hall of Famer. I'm not sure that he's in my Hall of Fame, just like Kurt Warner, for example. But again, like I said, we'll have to find out. I keep plugging this thing. Keep it interesting. So. Tom Coughlin almost gave the game away when the Patriots got the ball back with a minute left. Yeah, well, he was up against the GOAT. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. See it twice. If you write at VonAllen Sports, I'm more than likely to see it better. Or you're always welcome to send a super chat. So, thank you guys. I like this conversation, though. It's interesting. Brian asked me, do I think the Bucs can still win the Super Bowl? Oh, God, yes. When you have the GOAT, even with Godwin out, when the playoffs come back, the GOAT still has a loaded team. We have to remember that Antonio Brown was a luxury. He was an add-on. Tom already had a great thing going before Antonio was added to the mix last year. And it took Antonio up until the, some could say up until the Super Bowl to kind of even show what he was about. And now I think Brown is just going to take off. He had a big day, over 100 yards. He was targeted, 14, 15 times by Tom. I think that's going to be a lethal thing right there. AB, If AB is even 80% of what he once was, and we got Tom throwing him the ball, we're good. It's going to be fine. Player for player, the Bucs, and I'm talking about when the playoffs start. Fournette should be back. Mike Evans should be back. So player for player, they can compete with anybody still. Godwin is the only one missing, really. So, and we also, it may have been, now I'm not saying it's going to be, but it may have been a blessing in disguise, okay? Where Fournette, not Godwin, of course, but Fournette and Mike Evans being out. Now, what if they got hurt in the next few games and they're out for the playoffs? But now they're not playing and they're going to be back. While they're gone, though, we're going to have guys stepping up, guys taking that position and seeing what they can do with it. The reason they couldn't get much working last week, the guys coming in, is mainly because they don't get the first team reps. They don't get to be. They're always on the, working with the practice squad, second, third teams, and things like that. They're not getting all those targets in practice. But this week they had a full week of practice, and you saw them kind of come out of their shell a bit. You saw some guys do some great things. And each week they're going to continue to do that. What that's going to do is that when the playoffs come, the depth on offense, the guys on the bench are now going to have experience. They're going to have those weeks of playing and getting targeted by Tom, working with Tom. You saw Tom today, I can't remember who the player was, but he was in motion and Tom stopped him. Wait, he was teaching them. He's not going to get to teach those guys if they're on the bench. So those guys are getting real game experience right now. So God forbid something happens in the playoffs, or even if it doesn't, you've got these guys with experience now that can come in, give a breather to Mike Evans, to AB, to Gronk, guys like that. And then you've got a fresh set of dudes that know what they're doing finally. So it could be a blessing in disguise, especially when you got a guy like Tom Brady. So absolutely, the Super Bowl is still on the table, for sure. I don't trust the Green Bay Packers. I've seen them blow a lot of games, I've seen a lot of teams throw the game away because of stupidity. And it seems that when Aaron Rodgers gets in a playoff game, he just does uncharacteristically stupid crap that he doesn't do, and uncharacteristically as in relation to the regular season. He reminds me a lot of Peyton Manning, and in that regard, like all the regular season, he can just crank out stats and just bust it out. When it comes to the playoffs, it's like he wants it so much, he's trying so hard that he keeps making stupid mistakes instead of doing what he's supposed to do. And I pointed that out in the episode 2 where, indecision kind of took over, and he didn't know what to do. And then he ended up making a bad decision. It's like when you're on the highway, those drivers that cause accidents are the ones that just don't go. Just pick a lane and go. The ones that, I don't know if I should go. And then that causes a problem. That's what Aaron did. Instead of running the ball, naturally, if that was a regular season game, if he wasn't in that moment, Aaron runs that ball every time. But no, he tries to force it. He freaked out, tried to force it, incomplete. And he does those things in the playoffs quite a bit. We've seen him do that. How many times have we seen the Packers drop to a team that was not as good or shouldn't have won? We've seen it quite a bit over the last decade. So I don't trust them completely. Do I think they're a great team? Yes. I expect the Bucs against the Packers in the NFC Championship game. I expect a repeat, honestly. So. Oh, thanks, See It Twice. So See It Twice says, Marshall Faulk has 20,000 yards combined, rushing, receiving, 136 touchdowns, 76% catch percentage. Yeah, that's some good stuff. On top of the MVP, on top of the Super Bowl and Super Bowl appearances. Yeah. Oh, LaDainian Tomlinson was excellent in his prime, man. Awesome player. Definitely DW. He had great vision. Absolutely. Yeah, Dave, that NFC Championship game you speak of, that was, he says, Aaron Rodgers is 1-5 in NFC Championship games. His only win was versus Caleb Haney of the Bears. Now, I will give him due credit. 1-5 means that you were in the NFC Championship game 6 times. And that's not a small feat. That is impressive. As a quarterback, it is your job to get your team into those positions. And that's something that's good right there, right? But when you're trying to make a case for a guy who you're trying to say is one of the best ever, top 5, people try to make that case. Some people think he's the GOAT, which is ridiculous. You got to say, hang on. He's lost all of them except one, and that was against the Bears, where Jay Cutler just completely checked out, didn't want to play. I mean, really, does anyone believe that he couldn't play? He's over there on the little stationary bike. That whole thing was ridiculous. And, yeah, they got it done against Pittsburgh. That's fine. That's cool. I'm not going to take that away from them. But it's a lot of NFC Championship games to not be able to get past. So, Minuteman says, Brady finally defeated Cam. That's true. That's true. Wasn't Sam Darnold in there for a while too? I think I saw him getting sacked back to hell. Okay, we have an internal conversation going at the same time. I'm trying to keep up. Okay, so first, someone mentioned Barry Sanders. Okay, so Barry Sanders, if you go by what I've seen, not on tape from the past, but in my life, Barry Sanders is the most awesome running back I've ever seen, okay? The guy was just freaking, talk about alien. He was an alien, all right? Too bad he wasn't, with a better organization. But again, that's part of it, though. But he was amazing. And Mike Miller says, what does the best thrower of the football mean? Well, it's a phrase that came along kind of towards the end of Dan Marino's career. And that was kind of I remember when I was a kid, they started slinging that around with, regarding Dan Marino. And it was like a consolation prize for Dan, because it became obvious that he probably wasn't going to win a Super Bowl. So they wanted to label him the best thrower of the football, the best pure passer of the football of all time. And that was kind of like a way of describing Dan and giving him some props. And now people have taken that and kind of ran with it. And now it's become a way of saying something that's supposed to be legendary about a guy, because you don't have actual facts and actual real world stats to back up that they're the GOAT. So you say something like that. For example, you couldn't say Dan Marino was the GOAT because it was clearly Joe Montana, but you wanted to compliment Dan, or if you were a fan of Marino's, you would say best throw of the football, right? And now with Aaron Rodgers, they're doing the same thing. So they can't say that Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT because there are no facts and no real reality to back that up. Only delusional people. Although some people say that all of reality is a delusion. I mean, when we all agree that we're having the same delusion, we call that reality. So, but in this delusion, Aaron Rodgers is not the GOAT. But that's a way to say something about him. It's similar to Mike. It's similar of saying Aaron Rodgers is the most talented quarterback we've ever seen, or Mahomes has the best arm we've ever seen. There's just all these hyperbolic statements, these stupid labels. It's just a way to give endless rim jobs to a guy because you hate the actual GOAT, or you don't like the actual GOAT because they're not fancy enough for you. So you make up all these stupid things. And every time they say these things, they're actually complimenting Tom. If you guys ever get in an argument with people about quarterbacks, and they want to say, "Oh, Tom's not as talented." Talented. That's code for my guy cannot live up to Tom. So I'm going to say talented. But when they say, let's say Aaron Rodgers is more talented than Tom Brady. Patrick Mahomes has better physical gifts and attributes than Tom Brady. They think that they're insulting Tom. What they're doing, they're complimenting Tom. And they're actually insulting their own guy. But they're too stupid to realize it. If Tom has accomplished all that he has with lesser talent, with lesser physical gifts, with the lesser natural gifts that Rodgers and Mahomes possess, that makes him even more extraordinary. That means that his brain, his work ethic, his training, his thinking process, all of that is so superior that he could still beat all of you guys, not only surpass you, but bury you when it comes to all the things that matter. And you have all those physical gifts. So what the hell is wrong with you? That's the question. So turn it around on them. Okay? Turn it around on them and say, "Oh, if Aaron Rodgers is more talented than Tom Brady, what the fuck is Aaron Rodgers' problem then? Why isn't he got 5 fucking Super Bowls if he's so great? If he's so talented and he's so awesome, he's got an advantage. He's got an advantage over Tom." Is that not true? Based on their argument. So what's wrong with him? Why hasn't he accomplished it? Why has he only been to 1 Super Bowl his entire career? If he's so great, if he's more talented, Tom found a way. You know, apparently Tom doesn't have any talent. Tom is a physical sloth. He's like nothing, according to these people. But yeah, he's beating your guy. He's destroying your guy. So these idiots don't realize what they're doing when they say these things. And you just got to use it against them. Throw it in their face. Just throw it right back. You okay? If you guys don't want to pay ESPN to watch Man in the Arena, which I don't want you to because I don't want ESPN getting any money from you guys, I have created a folder for you guys to be able to watch it. But for access, you just need to email me, VonAllen Sports at iCloud.com, and you can watch Man in the Arena if you want, without having to pay ESPN, if you don't want to. So. James Johnson, Consul James Johnson, says, sounds like you and Tom Grossi have a date. Are you Tom Grossi? That's the Packers guy. The guy I included in my last episode. I don't know. These guys, they don't work with anybody, or they won't do anything with anybody that's not in their little circle jerk of friends. And I don't know if you notice that they don't really, it's not about the football as much as them telling each other how great each other are and them trying to be funny. They're all wanting to be comedians. They're all wanting to be funny guys, and instead of giving sincere effort to analysis. So I doubt that they would ever do something like that, but I would love to debate somebody, and it's just nobody ever wants to do that. So, unfortunately. I think Jim Brown is one of the greatest running backs ever, if not the greatest. But I never got to see him play, and live. I can only see highlights, so that's why I said specifically of the guys I've actually seen play, Barry is the best. Yeah, see it twice. That's weird, right? I mean, they don't include being mentally stronger, like you said. They don't consider that to be a talent, and it's very confusing. Like, why? Everybody is so enamored with, oh my God, look how he throws the ball. Look at him run around. I mean, it's childish. That's how children think. That's a child's response. They cannot, it means that their brain cannot process the finer things and the details and the nuances of the game, and it's just too much for them. And that kind of tells you about who they are. Now, I'm not saying that everybody who likes guys like that are dumb or something's wrong with them. I'm saying if they like guys like that, but they shit on pocket passers like Tom Brady, who does what he does, they are stupid. Because that means that they can only see one framework and one thing. But if they can respect it and see it, but they just happen to like other guys' playing style, well, that's fine. That's a personal preference. But most of these people, if they like the Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes style and all that, they almost usually crap all over guys like Brady and his playing style. Huh. James Johnson says, I got Tom Grossi to admit that his argument is Rodgers can do everything Brady can do, but Brady can't do everything Rodgers can do. God, I'm so sick of hearing that. That's such a stupid argument. That doesn't even make sense. I have no problems with what Aaron Rodgers did. He lied to the media. So?
He lied to them or he played the media?
Actually, yeah, he didn't even lie. He word played with them. Okay? I'm no Aaron Rodgers fan, far from it. You guys know that. But you can always expect from me to be honest. And I don't see the big deal. He was doing the protocols. They all knew that he wasn't, you know what. I'm not even going to say it so I don't get flagged. But they knew. So he was just messing with the media. Big deal. They're evil. They're horrible. The media is the number one problem in the United States right now. They are the number one problem. You fix the media. If we had an honest media, all the other problems would fall in line. Because politicians couldn't be crooked. They'd have to do their job. We'd all be aware of what they're doing. CEOs of companies, these companies couldn't do what they're doing because we'd be all made available, the information available. We'd all know what's going on. Everyone would realize it and everyone would look into it. Everything falls in line if you've got a media that is not corrupt. So they are the biggest evil. They are the biggest problem. And they incite violence. They incite racial issues. They incite all kinds of problems. They get people pissed off and angry and want to do all kinds of crazy shit. They cause that stuff. They are the problem. So I don't care if Aaron Rodgers wants to have a little fun with them. I am not going to shed a tear for these assholes. So I have no problem with it. Chiefs Bucs rematch is very, very possible. Like I said earlier, the Chiefs, Mahomes is playing a heavy schedule, and under our formula, it means that these wins are quality victories. They're not just crap victories. They're solid. So that, you guys know, that bodes well for a playoff push. Who's going to beat them? Who's going to keep them from going to the Super Bowl right now? Do you guys trust anybody in the AFC? Actually, Aaron never said that he was. He used a different word. Milena, what did he say?
I don't know. It was a different word, but
He said he was immunized, right? Or something like that.
yeah, something.
Wait.
But it was not.
No, it wasn't that word. That wouldn't make sense. He said something else. But anyway. Was it immunized? I don't know. But yeah, he was messing with the media. I don't give a crap. They deserve it. Remember, they're the same ones that perpetrated Deflategate. Okay? If they did their job, if they actually did their job and did what they were supposed to do, Deflategate never becomes a thing. If they actually researched it and looked at it, they made that happen. Screw them. Mike, there's nothing cupcake about the Chiefs right now. I mean, I hate it. You know, I want to see them get really humbled. That would be hilarious. But the truth is you know, they have seen some pretty good competition. So again, you can't really count an overall schedule to get a strength of schedule and think that that is going to really tell you about who that quarterback, that team that the quarterback played that day. You know, I'm just going to repeat for those who just came on. Right now, if, for example, the Patriots were playing the Dolphins, okay, let's say the Patriots are playing the Dolphins today. And let's say that they played the Dolphins in week 1. So this is a rematch from week 1. The Dolphins are not the same team now as they were back then, or even in week 4 or week 5. The Dolphins had been on a winning streak and playing better football. They're a different team. The Patriots, and for them also at the same time, the Patriots are a different team. So lumping up all of Miami's games from week 1 to week 15 in this scenario makes no sense. It taints the sample. It's not good. It's not a good result because, or it's not going to give you a good result because you think that you're assuming that all the games are the same or at least similar in quality, and they're not. And that's why I do the 4-week system. And notice I don't ever say the 4-game system. 4-week system. So, because I count bye weeks. So, because if I don't, that means that team is 5 weeks. That's 5 weeks. So even the bye week counts as far as I'm concerned because things change over time. So 4 weeks. 4 weeks is what I think shows who you are for the most part. The best way we could possibly, because I think 3 games is probably just a little too, or 3 weeks is probably just barely under, not enough. 5 weeks, too much has changed. And so I think 4 weeks is that sweet spot there. And when it comes to that, every time Patrick Mahomes' kickoff is about to happen and he's got to face a team, those teams are doing well in their last 4 weeks at the time on points allowed and winning percentage. And Patrick Mahomes has the second most difficult when it comes to strength of opposition. And doesn't guarantee anything. You can't guarantee anything in the NFL. That's why it's so great. It's because you never know. But it does at least give us an idea about the quality of their victories and what they've been what they faced. So it would be awesome if we played them and took them out. Could you imagine? Everybody in Kansas City would lose their effing minds. Thank you, Christian, but I don't call them the legacy media. I call them the regime media because they're more or less the same as the media in China or the media in Russia or North Korea or Turkmenistan. It belongs to the state. Our media is state-run media. So Ozymandias, what's up, man? Sends a $5 super chat from Canada. He says, if Aaron Rodgers is better than Tom Brady, why did he not take the trade since Green Bay must be holding him back? AFC team could trade for him. Chargers, Tampa Bay did it, or Tom Brady did it and won. So why didn't Aaron? Good question. No, Elf of Courage, they wouldn't have. They would not have said that if the Rams had won. Ozymandias, but regarding that, I think several factors with him coming back to Green Bay. One was because he didn't want to leave for football reasons. He wanted to leave for personal reasons. And then when he saw that that wasn't going to work out very well and couldn't get done, or he was, time was running out, like things weren't happening the way he expected them to happen. Green Bay was kind of playing hardball, saying they're not going to work with him on this. And then they made a deal saying, okay, I'll come back for the next year. I'll come back one more year, and then we'll let you kind of do what you want. Or you can decide then. And Aaron's like, okay, screw it. I'll just come back for one more year. And I think that's kind of what happened. But Super Bowl prediction? Right now, it's going to be, I still believe it's going to be a rematch. So I still believe it's going to be Chiefs and Bucs. And if that is the case, and as long as the Bucs have, most of their guys, and I assume that would be the case if they're going to make it to the Super Bowl, I think that they can beat them again, but it will not be like last year. It will be a high-scoring game. We're talking in the 30s, maybe even 40s. It's going to be a offensive, just complete explosion, right? If that's the case. It'll be a much different game. Fuck you, Google. Says Bucks or Packers versus Pats or Bills. Wow, that's interesting. Fuck you, Google. Wait.
Mention that somebody's user.
That's a username. I'm not. Yeah. If it's Bucks versus the Patriots, the whole country is going to lose their minds.
Wow.
James Johnson sends a $5 super chat. Says, Big Tech, Facebook, Google, YouTube, Twitter, etc., are more powerful than any government or empire in history. They control everything. It's all intertwined. Guys, we are basically China, except we have a bit more freedom. But as far as we have places we can go. You can go to different states, different regulations. So we're not
Choices,
in that case.
more hairstyles for guys.
Huh?
More hair.
And more hairstyles. Yes,
And
we're allowed more hairstyles. That's for sure. But what I mean by we're like China is the way our government is ran, the way our corporations, everything works. In that case, when I went to Bulgaria originally in 2017, I used to look down on Bulgaria for their political corruption. And I would say things to like Miscellaneous family and complain like, why don't they fix that? They need to do what America does and they need to do what we do. Wow. Over that time span, since then, we've seen the true face of how our country works and how our media works. And not only are we as we're corrupt like that. Same thing. But we may actually be worse because our corruption has a bigger impact worldwide. So our reach, our corruption stinks in the nostrils of Mother Earth all over the planet. As where Bulgaria's corruption really is confined, right? Or it's not just Bulgaria. I just happen to know that country, but it's all kinds of countries, you know. But ours affects everyone. And that corruption creates stupid wars. It creates stupid situations, wasteful spending, wasteful everything, all this crap that's going on. So we might actually be worse because of this. And in that respect, compared to some European countries or maybe, you know, countries like that. Now, at least we're still not as bad as China, who has slave labor and has Muslims as slaves. And yet nobody says anything about it. Nobody cares. The NFL is wanting to do business in China. The NBA is already doing business in China. Nobody brings this up. So they're all lives matter, Black Lives Matter, whatever. And they're all pro. NFL's always talking about social justice and doing things for people. But at the same time, they're marketing themselves in a country that has Muslim slaves and they're killing them and executing them. And not only Muslim slaves, but they've got Chinese slaves, their own people. They've got child slave labor as well. Where's your social justice? Where is that? So it's all a fraud. It's all fake. Our companies are corrupt. Our media is corrupt. Everything. So, yeah, like I said, if the media was just straight, if the media did their actual jobs, all this, it'd be so different. It would clean it up so much. It'd be amazing. You'd notice it overnight. We're just different about our corruption, that's all. We go about it a bit different. And again, generally speaking, we're still the most free people, but free relative to what? We're not as free as we once were. And it's actually a bad trajectory that we're going down. But yeah. I'm just not happy with all these companies endorsing China all the time while trying to pretend like they care about people. Ask Sia twice about China, okay? He's got siblings that were adopted from there, and they were adopted from there because of what the people did to them physically. Especially the girl. James Johnson sends a $2 super chat. He says, it's the rich elite ruling class versus the rest of us. Exactly. Only a few thousand people, maybe even only a few hundred, dictate how all of us live our lives and what we can and can't do. So it's really disgusting. It actually is really disgusting. Man. I think that people are waking up. I think it seems like more and more people are starting to realize it. And people are realizing it from unexpected areas and places that you normally didn't expect. And everyone's fed up. They're just like, nothing's changed. Like, what are you doing for me? I mean, we saw a guy on TV today as a Republican senator named Tim Scott, and he was complaining about being left out of decision making and how the other side is going into back rooms and making policy and all this stuff without cooperation, all these things. These things are illegal, by the way. I told Milena, I said, okay, if he's doing his job as a senator, then this is a paradox, okay? So it can't be a paradox. So that means he's not doing his job as senator, because complaining about those things as a senator, that makes no damn sense. Because if you were doing your job, you would do something about that. That is highly illegal. And you would make that known to everyone. And you would put that out there if you were doing your job. And that just tells you right there, simply, they're not doing their job. They're not doing what they're supposed to do, which is doing what they were voted to do. So this is funny how they complain. People in power, people who are given the power, are complaining about power, about the power. It's like, right? So, yeah, come on. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
What are the chances of Pats versus Bucks? Talked about it.
Patriots versus Bucs.
Somebody was talking about it.
The chances, very low. Would it be awesome?
Very much so.
Very much so. Hey, we're rhyming tonight. All right, guys. Been on here for almost 3 hours. This is the longest show I've done in a long time. Guess I'm going to go ahead and get off here. Unless there's anything else you guys want me to talk about. Yeah, I don't know if I just don't think that we can get all the way to the Super Bowl. I mean, I think that'd be wishful thinking if I said we had a chance or a shot. You know, I guess you always have a chance. If you're in the playoffs, you've got a chance. I just don't see it as a high chance. Okay, so my God, could you imagine? I would just love to watch everyone's heads just explode if it was Patriots versus Bucs. Could you imagine? I mean, that would just be insane. Absolutely insane. All right. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to get off here. And appreciate all of you. Merry Christmas again. And I'll talk soon. Yeah, I'm curious to see how this goes on Wednesday. I want to see how things change. But yeah, don't despair. I think the Bucs are going to start improving. I think Tom understands the urgency of it all, and I think the same thing as the Patriots. I think they'll be fine. I think they're gonna rip off wins in the last 2 weeks of the year, so it's all good. Thank you guys so much. Y'all are awesome, and I appreciate you guys. Good night.
VonAllen Sports.